like me. Hi, my name is Trina and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to start another reading vlog. This one a little bit more focused on maybe the vibes of the season than necessarily the books that I'm reading, but obviously the books will play a major role in the season. I really wanted to do a summer-centered reading vlog. I'm currently living in Sweden. We are having beautiful summer weather so far and just beautiful summer conditions and activities all around. Because I live near the coast, so I have pretty easy access to the ocean, and it has just been so nice and so divine. And I really want to find the perfect books to complement my perfect summer. And also I just have so many books that I'm reading this month that I want to talk at least a little bit about, like maybe not like a super detailed reading vlog about any of these books, but just take you along with me for the month of July as I pick up some of my summer TBR books and I pick up several large fantasy books that I am very, very excited to read. I can give you a preview of some of the books I'm planning on picking up. Of course, it's not a guarantee, but I have high hopes because a lot of these are library holds, so you know, I got a deadline and I gotta stick to it. And now I have a vlog, and I usually feel really compelled to work on things when I'm filming myself. I kind of set up an agenda for myself where I'm gonna read one big fantasy book each week in July and sort of guide my reading throughout the month in order to make progress on 4 different series specifically, and one standalone, but you know. The first book I've already started like yesterday night, and I already have gotten a decent chunk into it. I'm already 100 pages into it. I'm reading Valor by Gwynne, which is the second in the Faithful and the Fallen series, a 4-book series. I read Malice last fall in a reading vlog. This one won't be quite as detailed a reaction as that, again, because it's a series book, so I'll just tell you how I'm feeling about it. So far, I'm enjoying it. I think because it's been so long since I read Malice, I have to kind of regain my connection and attachment with these characters, and that's going a little bit slowly, but I do think I'll get there, and I won't wait as long to pick up the 3rd book after finishing Valor, so that hopefully I don't have to redo that process with the 3rd book again. Other books that I'm currently waiting for at the library and hoping will come in on time is, first, I also want to read The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson. This is the sequel to Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which was a book I read only last month, but just absolutely loved it. If I had The Shadow Cabinet on me last month, I would have just picked it up instantly and continued the series, but it wasn't available anywhere, and I didn't want to pay like $25 for it, because that's the only bookshop I found it in. It was like $25, and I was like, no. I think my library just said that they came in, so I have to drive into Gothenburg and pick it up at some point. Other books, this is like later in the month, so then this is the point where we're kind of gonna see what we get to, but I do want to read The Bound Worlds. That is the 3rd book in the series that starts with The Blighted Stars, and I'm really proud of myself for getting through this trilogy relatively quickly because they are all very thick books. They're all like 600 plus pages, all 3 books, but I've read the first 2. And now I really love to just finish the 3rd book because it's not going to be one of my like favorite series of all time, but I do enjoy the story and I do want to finish it up so that I can start a couple of other sci-fi series that I have on my agenda. One of those is the other book I maybe also might get to, The Incandescent, which is by the same author as Some Desperate Glory, Emily Tesh. I loved Some Desperate Glory so much. The Incandescent is a little bit different. I believe it's like dark academia fantasy, so more of the realm of something maybe like... Actually, I don't want to set any expectations by comparing it to the other book, but I just know it's dark academia and fantasy, and I love, love, love the way that Emily Tesh wrote characters in Some Desperate Glory, so I'm hoping for more of that. And then lastly, I do have a hold on Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson in the library. So if that comes in this month, that is the book I'm hoping to read in like the last week of the month. We'll see if that happens. I have quite a few books clearly on my agenda. I know it's a lot, but I have high expectations for my reading, and you're here to help me see those expectations through. So we're gonna start off, like I said, I'm just started off Valor. This first week of July is looking like it's gonna be mostly rainy weather, unfortunately, which is, it's still nice. It's still like warm out, but not necessarily the weather to like sit outside and read. But I will try to head to some of my favorite cafes and sit and work on this and maybe just cozy up in front of the rain with a cup of tea. But thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you follow along on this cozy summer adventure. We are having a momentary break from the never-ending rain. So I think I'm gonna go and try to get some fresh air and find a place to sit, probably near the boat, and continue reading. This is my grandpa's red currant bush that we are trying to keep alive since his passing. We also have a ton of black currant bushes too, but I personally love red currants. They get ripe during the summer. You can see some of them are still too light to eat. But the ones that, once they get dark enough, then they're really, really delicious as like a snack bush. Just divine weather for like an hour, and then the rain will be back, so I'm glad to be down here enjoying it. Reading updates, I did want to say I finished all the hidden paths. I don't want to say anything more about that because I ended up getting really, really annoyed with that one, which really frustrated me because I feel like fanfiction-y like books toe like a narrow border for me where I'm like, oh, this is a good time. But this one like crossed a line into like, okay, there's some subjects that if you're gonna write a book about, you need to handle them with more grace than a fanfiction would. So yeah, but enough said about that until my monthly wrap up because I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm still working on Valor by Gwynne, taking my sweet time with it. Need to start speeding up on that because I have so many other long books to read. I think I'm gonna start Chlorine next as well from my physical TBR to keep making progress with that because I know it's gonna be pretty short, so I'm hoping to finish that up like today or tomorrow. So I'm kind of just like, I'm glad to have Chlorine, which is a shorter book, to break it up in the middle. I'm super excited because my great aunt agreed to show us their secret blueberry spot because like there are wild blueberries everywhere in Sweden, but the ones along the trails get picked like immediately by the people who know where they are. And my great aunt has a spot that she knows that is like her blueberry spot, and she's gonna share it with us this year. So I'm very excited. I think I'm gonna try to make blueberry jam, maybe pie. Haven't decided yet, but either way, it'll be delicious. Pretty much all of this, with some exceptions, is blueberry rice. All the way, and it just keeps going. And the exceptions are some of them are lingonberry bushes as well. So that is 6 liters for us. And then that's what my great aunt picked as well. So I measured out all the blueberries. Each of these bags is 2 deciliters, and then these bags are 5 deciliters. This is for like jam and stuff. So in general, a lot of wild blueberries. And we also still have some in the fridge just for like eating today and tomorrow as snacks, but yeah, gorgeous. I have to think of things to make with these, honestly. I know I want to make pie, but I was thinking maybe blueberry pancakes too, but then maybe some cookies, I don't really know. But I'm very excited. Wild Swedish blueberries are extra specially good, and they're extra specially blue, so when you make things with them, they actually turn out blue, which I think is the best part. And then also, this is my snack red currant experimental round to try to see like the drying process for red currants, but yeah. Hi. I'm enjoying a lot of things about Valor by Gwynne, which is what I'm reading right now. But I did want to complain for a second that everyone said that the women characters get so much better in the second book, when I thought they were okay in the first book. Like, there weren't a lot of women characters, but I'm used to that from male fantasy, but they weren't like poorly written or anything like that. But it's really frustrating to me that every additional woman character we're getting in this book has, 1, been sexually assaulted, 2, is a badass warrior who can defeat everyone except for her love interest, or 3, is being partnered off with the main male characters. That's not good representation. I don't know what people are on when they're like, oh my god, I love the female characters that are introduced in this book. And I'm like, really? Because for me, they just feel like fill-ins. They don't feel original or interesting the way they did in book 1. And it's the sexual assault scene. It wasn't detailed or anything. It was just like, it was implied. But that's not what I came to expect from reading Malice. That's not what I expected from the series. And it just really ground my gears. I was like, that's not what I thought reading Gwynne would feel like. But based on what I read in Malice, yeah, I'm annoyed. And I want to know if anyone else feels this way, because everyone else says this series gets better after the first book. And I didn't think the first book was like genius or anything like that. But if the definition of people saying it gets better is that it gets more grimdark, then that's not what I signed up for, you know? So it's just really annoying. Hello, lovelies. It is currently July 10th. So I thought now would be a good day to give an update, both on summer activities and, of course, on my reading. But first, for the summer activities, it is going to be some good weather over the weekend, which I'm really, really excited for, because we've had some like gloomy days, which is part of the Swedish summer season, of course. And I really meant to take down my grandpa's old kayaks and try to see if they're still functional during the gloomy days, but I just decided to read instead for like 3 days straight. So the kayaking may still occur at some point, maybe if we get another couple of gloomy days, but for now it looks like it's going to be sunshine and warm weather. So hopefully we'll be able to swim a little bit. I went down to check the water temperature because we're by the ocean here, so water temperature takes a lot longer to warm up. So we're like only just now starting to enter the time of year when the water's warm enough to swim, which is very exciting. Also, blueberries and like wild berries have just started ripening, which is one of my favorite parts about living in Sweden, is that like and I think this is true for other countries too, just not the US where I grew up, but most wild berries are like, you're able to eat them. You should definitely still be cautious. You should know which ones aren't edible and which ones are edible. Like, my grandpa used to walk around and give us the names of every single plant and check leaves and like knowing stuff like that. So we might do some of that. There might also be a couple of boat rides if the weather and the wind permits, which would also be really lovely. And of course, there will be more reading. In terms of updates, here's the stack and my Kindle's in there. To start off, I will say I'm still working on Valor. You saw my update when I was down by the water yesterday, and I'm just taking it a little bit slower than maybe I thought. Yesterday I tried to read like a big chunk, like I read like 150 pages in one day. While like I thought that was okay, I started getting really frustrating with the characterization of the women. This kind of book, like this whole series, and this kind of like epic fantasy with like a big cast of characters, you really have to enjoy the journey. And I was like, no, I'm rushing this. I'm not enjoying the journey. I need to slow it down. So I'm still working on it. I will continue working on it. I am still kind of frustrated with the way that the women characters have changed in booktube this series. Very few people will agree with me because I do still think they're great characters. They're great in their own ways. It's just like a personal pet peeves of mine is when women characters are introduced just to be love interests. And the one character we had carrying over from book 1 has now become a love interest, I think, to Rites. At least that's what it seems like. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're just going to be like besties, but like keep on having Rites be like, oh, I'm thinking about her like so hard. And I'm like, I can't stop thinking about her. And I'm like, okay. So that's Valor. I am still enjoying the battle sequences and the journeys and the epicness, but I would like a little bit more development in the overall plot of the series by the end of the book, which I expect will happen. We're just like in that pre-final battle moment where I'm like, how has nothing been resolved? And we're almost 500 pages in. So that's Valor. But the book I did finish Chlorine by Jade Song. Honestly, when I started reading this, like 25% of the way through, I was like, I'm not gonna like this. I kind of got similar feelings to The Eyes Are the Best Part, which is another horror novel about like a young woman. But I just felt like the writing was very like trying to be deep, you know what I mean? Like some of the phrasing just felt so overdramatic. But when I was saying that to myself in the beginning of the book, I was like, okay, if this author commits to this girl like completely going nuts and like being so sure that she's a mermaid and she's narrating this book from the future of like telling her story of how she got to this point, then I would excuse the writing style a little bit more because then it actually fits the style of a young girl who thinks that she's very like deep. We got to the end and you know what? The author really committed to this concept. I really liked the ending, the kind of mysteriousness of it. And of course the horror elements were also impeccably done. There were some parts in this that I like kind of gagged, kind of cringed to read. So it is some like, it's like intense body horror. Like it is real body horror. I did end up actually really enjoying it more than I thought I would, just because I feel like, okay, like the author really went for it. Like that's awesome. That's great. So yeah, I'm happy I ended up enjoying it. Because when I first started reading, I was like, oh no. But it really got there in the end. I got used to the writing style and I found a lot to like. So that is Chlorine by Jade Song. And even though I haven't finished Valor, I decided to start another one of my fantasy TBR books. And I'm really happy I did. I'm only like 10% of the way through, like I've just started. But I'm already really, really enjoying it. I've started The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. Here, I'll hold up the cover. I am really enjoying this concept so far. It is dark academia, and a lot about it is reminding me of A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, which was a series that I really, really love and think about a lot. So if this can capture any of those similar vibes, I would love it. It's also dark academia from the perspective of a professor trying to protect her students. And I don't know why. I feel like that's definitely been done before, but it's just, I don't think I've read a dark academia from the perspective of a professor yet. And for me, that makes me even more excited. Like, oh yeah, new idea, something fresh, something exciting. So yeah, I haven't gotten very far in it. It's also fantasy. It's like a magical school, again, with the comparisons to A Deadly Education. It seems like it deals a lot with like demon summoning and different types of magic. So I'm excited for that one. Anything else I'm reading? I don't think so. I think I'm going to try to finish up Valor. The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson did come in from the library, so did The Shadow Cabinet, so my fantasy plans are going really well. I'll have a lot to read there, and I'm really excited to take you along with me and give you a little taste of what it's like during the summer in Sweden. But we will continue, and I'll give you updates when I've read some more. something with my blueberries, and I wanted to make a pie, but I already, can I show this? I already made a rhubarb pie. You can see it in there. I'll show you a picture. It's really, really good. But because we're still working on that, I don't want to make more pies. So I think today I'm going to make some blueberry jam instead, which should be equally tasty. So for this batch, I'm just using, each of these is 2 deciliters. So I'm using about like 4 deciliters of berries. These were all frozen blueberries, but these are the blueberries I picked earlier in the video. Oh yeah. I just realized I'm an idiot and very tall for this kitchen, so you couldn't see me in that last clip at all. My bad, but blueberries. 4 deciliters blueberries. We're gonna cook it for 5 to 10 minutes according to the recipe, but they're coming from frozen instead, so I'm thinking probably it's gonna end up being like 15 minutes. We're just gonna cook up the stove. I'm putting on top heat right now just because the stove takes forever to heat up, but once it gets going, I'm gonna turn it down a little bit, and it should just like simmer for a while until I think it's broken down enough. My dad just cooks them and then puts sugar in and leaves it at that, but I'm doing like a health food version, so I'm putting in chia seeds to make it thicken, but we do that after it cooks. Life cycle of a wild Swedish blueberry comes to its conclusion in the fridge. And I'll probably have that on like a pancake or just like a slice of toast or something because it's really tasty. But now you know how to make blueberry jam of a sort, chia blueberry jam. The part of the day where you get sick of just swimming the whole time, so we have to go out exploring over the island. Hello, this vlog is going to take a while. We knew that from the beginning, but I guess I didn't really think about then how long all these clips would be at this point. So I really want to focus this vlog on the portion that has to do with Swedish summer and all my outdoor clips and everything like that, and just like giving you the impression of what it's like here and not have these long ass rambling book updates as often. They're still gonna be there, but if I can shorten them in any way, then I want to do that. So I think for the rest of this video, I'm just gonna focus on my fantasy TBR. I've mentioned it somewhat briefly. It's basically just like a plan I put together myself. You can see the page in my reading journal. But it's basically just a plan I put together for myself to get through some of the like really big fantasy books that I wanted to read this summer, but I didn't want to overlap because I felt like I couldn't read them at the same time. And that fantasy TBR is gonna be my main focus in July, and it's gonna guide my reading. And obviously I'm reading other stuff too, but I did want to just focus on that for this reading vlog in order to not talk about like 10 bajillion books. So for the sake of that, I will focus on the fact that since the last update, I've both finished Valor in its entirety and finished The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. Valor, I think my thoughts on that pretty much stand from the last update. I was just a little bit disappointed because of how much I liked Malice, and I feel like Valor just like let me down. I am going to finish the series because I still really do like the overall plot and the journeying and the adventuring, and now I have better expectations for what I'm getting for the rest of the series, so it should still be fine. For The Incandescent, okay, so I think I still like Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh better. I really did like The Incandescent. It continued with these like dark academia vibes throughout. The Incandescent was really, really fun. I loved the sapphic yearning. The romantic undertones were just, I was really, really obsessed with the main couple from pretty early on. I think it's like rivals, enemies, a little bit to lovers, done really, really well. And I just like the world building in terms of like the different types of magic you can wield, the way that magic is woven into the present day. It's not perfect because there's no way to really account for how magic would impact every part of our regular society, but I did think it was pretty cool the way like what she went for with it. There were a couple of narrative arcs that I just wish hadn't been dropped. In the beginning, we kind of get a lot of really interesting criticism of over-policing of vulnerable communities, especially young people within vulnerable communities, around these like cop, police, guardian characters that they have wandering the school to like protect the students, but it's really to protect the world from some of the students. And some of the conversations that the main characters have in the beginning of the book, I felt like did a really good job at like building up like a really interesting conversation about over-policing that kind of got washed away as the story went on. Like, I wouldn't say like it was just entirely dropped. We get some sort of resolution. It's just not like as deep of a resolution as I would have liked. So that was just a little bit disappointing. But overall, I will say I really like The Incandescent. It's not going to be like a new favorite of all time, but it is adding on to my list of like witch books or books about like realms of magic that I just think are really, really sick and really well done. And it has cemented Emily Tesh as like a new favorite author where I will be rereading anything she comes out with, because so far it's 2 for 2 of just like really solid good books. So with The Incandescent down, that means that the next book on my fantasy TBR is The Bound Worlds, which is the third book in the Devoured Worlds trilogy by Megan E. O'Keefe. I'm really, really excited to get to finish this trilogy. This will be like one of the fastest times I've managed to complete a thick sci-fi trilogy. I think I'm going to enjoy The Bound Worlds. It basically, I'm assuming it's going to pick up somewhere after the second book, The Fractured Dark. I didn't enjoy The Fractured Dark as much as the first book in the trilogy, but even if The Bound Worlds is more of the same of the second book, I still enjoyed it enough. Like, I still had a good time with it, so I think it'll still be really, really fun. This is a sci-fi romance series. It's about kind of a battle both between different factions of humans, but also between humans and this larger fungal existential threat. And you know I like a fungus, so I'm really, really excited to get back into that. I think it is cool. Yeah, in general, for summer activities, I think The Bound Worlds is less of a summery book, but it'll be fine. We'll fit it right in. We've been spending so much time just like outside swimming. Like, I don't think I've swam this much since I was like a little kid. It's been really, really lovely. I'm surprised I've been able to read so much because we've also been doing a ton of summer activities, but a lot of those summer activities involve laying around in the sun, which is the perfect opportunity to read. So it's been overall productive both on the relaxation front and on the reading front, and it's been really, really great. So we're gonna continue, and I'll check in with you when I finish the Bound Worlds. I'm literally obsessed with my tomatoes. Look how big they're getting, and there's so many more blossoms. Like, there's so many tomatoes coming. I might be overwatering them, but that's what they deserve. So look how gorgeous they are. Our tree is almost dead, unfortunately, but we still get a couple of cherries in here that are still edible. Like, ooh, this was a good one. I'll show you what it looks like. Come on, focus. And then there's the pit in there, but it's like a really, really juicy, a little bit sour. They make really good pies. We're having a couple of insanely hot days here. So reading directly underneath my air conditioner is currently the plan. The air conditioner doesn't warm the whole house, so I can't sit upstairs or anywhere else, but this room right here, perfect. Hello, fun car angle update while I wait for the ferry, because I am going to have a day out in the town today. We have been out in nature. It's been lovely. The weather's been amazing, but we're having kind of like it's still really hot, but we're kind of having like some cloudy days. So we're gonna go into town, which I'm really excited for, do a little bit of book shopping, which is my favorite part about going into Göteborg is the town I'm talking about. It's not a town, it's a city, but we are gonna do a little bit of book shopping as we always do, a little bit of cafe sitting, lunch sitting, and reading. I'm currently reading Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal by Jeanette Winterson, which is on my summer TBR, so we are making summer TBR progress, which is amazing. I'm like annotating the shit out of this because I'm obsessed with it. Jeanette Winterson is back. Just like the way she writes just feels like she's pulling thoughts straight out of my brain. I'm so obsessed. I love this book so much. I can say I'm on track with my fantasy TBR right now, which is amazing. So I think I might actually be able to finish the 4 big fantasy books I had planned and Her Majesty's Royal Coven trilogy. We're gonna see. I also have a concert I'm going to tonight for an artist that both me and my dad like, Amanda Jensen. So that should be really fun, so I'll throw in some footage there. Join me on a day out in the city in the summer. Not really escaping the heat so much as like plunging into the heat.
är nämligen så här att utan er, utan att ni kommer för att titta och njuta utav... So tell my love, I'm leaving. I gotta find something to believe in. Tell my love, I'm leaving.
Hello, I went out to a place to go swimming, so like the anchor's set, and I thought it would be fun to film a little update here, but I'm realizing with the wind and the waves and the general seasickness simulator that's going on, this may not have been my best idea, so this will probably be a short update. Like I mentioned before, this reading vlog is getting a bit bloated, solely because I've been reading so many books this month. I think it's generally, this is the holiday time in Sweden, like I said, so I've just had so much time free to just chill and read, and it's been lovely. But I don't want to overwhelm this vlog. So like I said, I'll cut out other random books I've been reading and just focus my fantasy book TBR. But I do want to talk about one book that I'm obsessed with, and it's from my summer TBR, so I feel like it's relevant. But first, I finished The Bound World, so I officially finished the Devoured Worlds trilogy, which I'm really happy about. That's a really thick trilogy, and I'm really proud of myself for pushing through and reading it. And honestly, it wasn't that much of a hardship because I did have a good time reading it. I think just the same sort of critiques I've had for the whole series kind of apply. I didn't realize this was more like a romantasy, except romance sci-fi. A ri-fi? No, I don't like that. A romance fiction? Okay, never mind. Just, anyways, I didn't really realize that going in. And when I say a romance, I like obviously mean that the romance takes up the majority of page time in the story. I do think that was fixed slightly in this last book compared to the Fractured Dark, but even still at this point, the romance is kind of the driving factor for like some of these characters' actions, and for me that just felt like a shame because the world building was so intense, and I feel like I didn't understand some of it because we didn't get enough time with it compared to how much time we got with the romance. That being said though, I did really still enjoy the series. I really do love Tarquin and Naira, but I think if you're, for example, a romance lover looking to get into sci-fi, looking to get into like epic sci-fi, then I feel like this might be the gateway for that, because I think there is a lot of romance in the series, which just like wasn't my favorite thing. Maybe if I was like obsessed with the couple, in all honesty, I like the couple best in book 1, and everything after that was just kind of like, we get it, you're in love, congratulations. But anyways, I'm really happy with the ending. I thought it was a really sick ending and thought it was cool, and I did like it better than the second book. And I would say this series overall, just like its impression on me, is probably 4 stars, even though the last 2 books got 3.5 stars, just because like it left a good impression. Like I had a good time with it. I managed to finish it in a ridiculously long amount of time, so I'm really happy with that. So that is The Bound World, and that means we're officially 3 books down on my fantasy reading plans, with about a week and a half left in July. I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe I can fit in 2 more fantasy books, but the next fantasy book on my list is kind of a chunky one, and I'm like kind of dreading starting it, honestly, and that's The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I have it checked out from the library, it's all set to go. I'm just like, I didn't love the Well of Ascension, and I'm mostly reading this last book to just finish this series, to be done, so that I can move on to Sanderson's other works, because I really want to read Mistborn Era 2, but I feel like I can't do that without finishing Era 1. So as like a palate cleanser, before I get into that, I'm going to take on another fantasy challenge, which is I'm going to read The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson finally. I've already started it and I'm very, very excited. But I really want to read book 2 and book 3 before The Well of Ascension, if I can manage it, which is, I think, is only possible if this book is as good as book 1 is, and I just want to fly through it the same way I flew through book 1. So, high hopes. That's next up. And the wind is getting so intense that I shouldn't keep talking, but I did want to briefly mention I'm almost finished with this Jeanette Winterson book, Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal, which is her memoir, and this is absolutely going to be a 5-star. I'm totally obsessed with the way that Jeanette Winterson writes. So I'm absolutely loving this. So I think today I'm going to sit down and finish this, and then probably continue starting The Shadow Cabinet. Let me get you out of the wind, you poor thing. The weather has finally cooled down some, like it's manageable, so I thought it was a perfect day for a hiking round. It's great to do a little hiking bit, which I haven't done this month because it's just been too hot. But yeah, let me try to find a good place, maybe a bench to sit down and talk about some books too. Okay, my phone keeps on falling over, but I'm hoping this will work because I wanted to give a quick update. I was thinking about taking a stop here and reading because it's such a nice view right at this bench. And I've sat here and read before, but honestly I'm feeling kind of good, so I'll probably just keep walking. Just as a quick update, I did finish reading The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson, which is the second book, the sequel to Her Majesty's Royal Coven. I still love this series. The third book that just came out, it's a new release, but my library had it really early for some reason, so I have it, is Human Rites. It's the third book, the conclusion to the trilogy that I've already started. I love this series so much. I don't think it's perfect necessarily. Like there is a lot of like, oh, where did that plot point come from? Or where did this go? But it's kind of like addicting. Like I'm kind of addicted to the series. I'm addicted to the characters. I'm really, really obsessed with it. I don't think it's going to be for everyone, but like for me, it's scratched this itch that I've had ever since finishing Agatha All Along last fall, the Disney Plus show. I loved Agatha All Along. Okay. It's like, again, like a new cult classic for me. Like I've already rewatched it so many times. I love Agatha All Along. And ever since that, I've had this like itch for this like kind of like witch story where the characters aren't good, but you're still rooting for them. I read witch stories in which the characters aren't good, but most of the time that I'm also not rooting for them. And Juno Dawson does such a good job with this, especially in The Shadow Cabinet. One of the characters, whose name I won't say because it's a spoiler, is just like the most like, I don't even, like morally gray, I guess is a good way to put it. We are introduced to her and we think that she's done like unforgivable things. We do end up kind of forgiving her for some of the things, or at least if we don't forgive her, we understand why she did it. She's such a well-written character. She's the highlight of The Shadow Cabinet. I was obsessed with her in that book. It was so good. So far in Human Rites, I would say I'm still really, really enjoying the series. There's just like, it's the conclusion book. There are a lot of perspectives we've been introduced to throughout this series that we're now all getting in one book. So there's a lot of going back and forth between these perspectives. Something happens to one of the characters in this last book that I don't personally care to read about. Like, I don't really care about. But I think Juno Dawson is doing it as well as she can. And I'm still really, really enjoying the book despite that. So that just proves that I love this series and I'm willing to forgive it pretty much anything. I'm going to continue reading Human Rites. I have not started the last book I want to read for this video, The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I have not started that yet. They're not comparable at all, just to be clear. Like the writing's not comparable. I'm not saying that. In terms of like my own enjoyment, just based on how much I didn't like The Well of Ascension versus how much I'm loving Her Majesty's Royal Coven, it's just going to be like, it's just tough to be like, to pick up a book that I'm almost certain won't be a favorite. Because, you know, every single book I pick up, I hold out this little hope that it's going to be a new favorite. And for The Hero of Ages, I'm like, I think I might like it better than The Well of Ascension, but just I seriously doubt it's going to get higher than 3 or 4 stars, like 4 stars max, which is such a negative outlook, and I don't like going into a book like that, so maybe this hike is what I need to like cleanse my mind. I don't know. Date update. I guess I haven't given one since the end of the video. We are pretty much at the end of July. We have like 2 days left in the month. So I'm not going to finish The Hero of Ages in that time. But I am planning on finishing it the first week of August, which I feel like is still pretty on track for me, generally. I meant to read The Hero of Ages the last week of July, but I did kind of replace it with finishing the Her Majesty's Royal Coven trilogy, and I'm not upset about it. Like, it's fine. So, anyways, that's the update. I'm going to continue my hike, and then I'll check in with you when I've done more reading. quick hiking break because I found an amazing patch of wild blueberries and I'm starving, so we're gonna snack. I'm so sad I didn't bring my blueberry picker thing. There's like I could have picked like a liter in like half an hour. There's so many and they're so dense. Guys, I couldn't resist. I'm back with the blueberry picker. Hi, hello. This is one of the weirder vlogs I've done, honestly, mostly because I haven't not been able to like give detailed updates on books because I've been doing activities with family members the whole summer and like I haven't really gotten a lot of time by myself to film, so apologies for that, but I hope that the general B-roll and Swedish summer footage is making up for it. We're pretty much at the end of good weather video taking, unfortunately. I'm planning on wrapping up this vlog this week and we are now officially into August, which means the industry holiday period in Sweden is over, sadly, so back to work we go. I do want to finish up the TBR I had planned for this video first before finishing it off, so you'll get like one final week of video taking, but it seems like the weather is like, okay, holiday, you're done, because it's just gonna rain this whole week, and supposedly a storm is coming up, so that should be interesting. I don't really know what to expect for that, but either way, I'm just gonna have a nice cozy final week with my books. To give a reading update, I only have The Shadow Cabinet, but I did finish Human Rites, the final book in Her Majesty's Royal Coven trilogy. This is a library book, but it's the only one I currently have on me from the series. Although I do want to kind of buy copies of this series because I love this series. I did finish Human Rites, and I do think Human Rites has a lot more problems than the first 2 books in the series. In general, I would say Her Majesty's Royal Coven, the first book, is the strongest book in the trilogy, and the other 2 books get weaker, but you accept it because of how much Her Majesty's Royal Coven made you love the characters. I would say The Shadow Cabinet isn't as strong as Her Majesty's Royal Coven, but it makes up for it in other ways, which is why I gave them the same rating, and like I really did love this. And then for Human Rites, I don't know what I'm gonna rate that. Probably not a 4-star though, probably 3 or 3.5. Just in terms of there were some tropes in Human Rites that I can't talk about because it's a 3rd book in the series that I am just not a fan of, like in general. Yeah, there were just 2 specific tropes that were used. Not like romance tropes, but just like storytelling, maybe they're not even called tropes, tools, storytelling methods used to wrap up a fantasy plotline and like solve an unsolvable problem in a way that I just wasn't personally a massive fan of. Like I don't like those like trope things. I also think that just like the 2nd book, you get less personal development from the main cast in the 3rd book, even less than in the 2nd book. In the 2nd book, at least there was a new character to kind of develop. But that being said, I do still really, really love the series, so I'm not gonna harp on Human Rites too long because despite its issues, I just had a fun time reading it. Like I had a really good time. I was absolutely flying through it because I love those characters and I wanted to see how everything resolved and wrapped up. And it is kind of a quirky series. There's a little bit of comedy in there, other stuff. So in general, that was just really, really fun. And I'm happy to have finished this trilogy. I finished another trilogy. Look at me finishing series. So unlike me. I'm so proud. But in general, I'm definitely going to reread that trilogy at some point too, which is kind of why I want to buy it. Either way, that is another 2 fantasy books under my belt. That just leaves 1 more for this week. And it is a doozy. The one I was kind of semi-dreading, but I do have a positive update for. The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson is the last fantasy book that I want to read in my fantasy reading this week. The library book is due the 8th of August, so I am hoping to finish it now in this first week of August. Relatively quickly. With all the rainy weather, it should give me plenty of time for reading. In good news, I have finished part 1. I'm currently on part 2 of The Hero of Ages. And I will say that I haven't found anything that has annoyed me yet on this one the way that The Well of Ascension. I think taking a break after The Well of Ascension was a really good thing because I have kind of forgotten the things that bothered me in that book. So now I can kind of come into The Hero of Ages with a blank slate and just enjoy it as a epic fantasy book, and I feel like I have been. Like at least part 1 has been enjoyable. I am intrigued. I am curious. I'm picking up what Sanderson is putting down, and that's a good feeling. I didn't want to hate this trilogy because that's who wants to devote like 2,000 plus pages of reading to something they don't like. I can't really give any huge storyline points for this book because it is a 3rd book in a series. Sorry. Continuing theme in this video is me not explaining what the books are about, but Mistborn is an epic fantasy trilogy that's set in a separate world where some people are Mistborn and they have power over metals and can literally consume metals and burn those metals within themselves in order to give themselves certain powers. But the origin of those powers is a part of the overall storyline of the series and causes significant problems, and like there's a sort of a counterbalance in the world for this power being introduced, where everything is kind of going to shit. Like everything's being buried under ash, and there are mists coming in that are blocking the sunlight for significant portions of the day, and we're losing sunlight, and soon we're not gonna be able to plant food, and everyone's gonna die, and yeah, so there's big world building issues that I'm finally understanding more of in this book and are really, really intriguing. So I'm excited to continue with The Hero of Ages this week and finish it up, and I'll probably give an update once I've finished this book. Very excited to almost be finished with the fantasy TBR and this vlog. Thanks for coming along. You can kind of see how much damage we've done to this bush in terms of eating. I think normally, what would a normal branch look like? Oh yeah, that's what they looked like in the beginning. And this is what they look like now when we've been eating from them. But we're getting close to the end of the season. There are some bits that are starting to get like overripe, you see, so gotta keep munching. Blackberries kind of come in waves, so like this branch right here is almost ready, but some of these aren't quite big enough yet. This one's almost ready, and then there are some branches you'll see that are like, they still need like 4 or 5 more days to grow or even longer, so we should have blackberries for like most of August, which will be lovely. Just enough for 1 jam or 1 pie, or maybe honestly just snack. Evening kayaking, but I did not anticipate this wind. Normally it's like chill in the evenings here. Not today. Not today. But I do have my audiobook. Okay, final tomato growth update of the video. Look how massive this one is getting down here. He's weighing down the whole branch so much. I have pretty big hands, but so that's not a good reference, but it's absolutely massive. And there are gonna be so many more. You can see under here, these 3 are gonna have tomatoes. This one up here is gonna have a tomato in it, and then these flowers are probably also gonna get there, and same with the other 2 bushes. So what an insane success. Oh my goodness, look at them. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh, and then of course there's this quirky one. Hi buddy, I like your nose. He's like a Minecraft villager. Look at him. Hello, it's time to close out the vlog because I have officially finished The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, thus finishing the first Mistborn trilogy. What a good way to end the vlog. Okay, I take back what I said. Okay, I don't take back everything I said, but I was really, really pleasantly surprised by this. I enjoyed this so much more than I enjoyed The Well of Ascension. I felt like, okay, I didn't waste my time reading this series. It was really interesting. I got a lot out of it. That's amazing. It was great. So like that feeling is really nice. Like it's nice to feel like, and it's nice to enjoy a book. Like I said, it's been kind of weather recently. After the storm, the water got really cold because all like the seawater came in. Anyways, so I haven't been swimming at all. I've just basically been at home reading this whole time. So I figure we're gonna get another heat wave next week, but it's time to close out this vlog. It's already way too long and I read so many books in it. But yeah, Hero of Ages, I was thinking about getting a midway update, but I was honestly just like invested. I was just in it, so like I didn't have time for a midway update. I really had a good time with this one. What are the things I like? It's not like a new favorite or anything like that. Calm down. I think this first Mistborn book is still my favorite in the series, but then this one and then Well of Ascension. We don't talk about her. I really liked Spook's story in this. Spook's perspective was interesting. I loved Tensoon's story. I loved finally getting all these world building details that just like came together, and it seemed like Brandon Sanderson must have been building it from book 1 of Mistborn, because like all these different components started making sense and fitting together. All these things that didn't make sense in the world building suddenly like made sense. It was so cool. No offense to Vin and Elend. I don't care about their relationship. I don't really like their perspective that much. Their voices don't really sound distinct, or they're not like interesting to me. I didn't care about that, and there wasn't a lot of that in this book, which was nice. They were mostly doing their own thing. I don't really care much for Sazed either, or Sazed. I was always thinking like Sazed, but apologies. I wasn't listening to the audiobook for this, so I don't know how it's pronounced, but Sazed or Sazed, don't really care much for his perspective. So that being said, I didn't love the ending to this. If you read this series, I don't really love the way it wraps up. I don't really care to hear about Brandon Sanderson's thoughts on religion, like knowing who he is in real life. Like I don't really want to know what he thinks about religion, because it's like it's not for me. So like that part was like okay, but I won't, like I said, I'm not gonna harp on it. It's just like that's what's keeping it from being a 5-star, is like religion is tied very heavily into that, and some of it is really interesting and some of it reflects my own understanding of the world, and some of them doesn't, and some of it feels very heavy-handed in a way that I'm not a huge fan of personally. I don't really like being preached to in my books. I know this is a really old book from Brandon Sanderson, so I am interested to see if his views have changed in his other works. But that being said, this was better than The Well of Ascension by a long shot. I don't want to give a super long update. I literally finished this like 10 minutes ago, so my thoughts are not at all cleanly together, but the ending was really, really sick. Just the way it all came together was sick. I'm so excited to read Mistborn Era 2 now. I want to know about the world that came from this world, that came from the conclusion of this series. I want to know what's going on in that world. I'm so curious. I want to know if we're gonna get like hints of what happened to some of the characters from this book. Like this has definitely made me way more eager to pick up Mistborn Era 2, which is amazing, and I'm really excited for that. This vlog is already really, really long, so I'll leave it there. Like I said, Swedish summer isn't totally over, but this vlog is over, and I hope you've enjoyed watching all the activities that I've shared. I haven't videotaped all of them because my phone doesn't have that much storage space, but I tried to film here and there so you could sort of get the gist, and I hope you felt like you did get some vibes. I'm still doing pretty good on my fantasy TBR. I fell a little bit behind because I wanted to finish up the Her Majesty's Royal Coven trilogy, which kind of shifted my schedule a little bit. But I'm still planning on reading The Bone Season and Ship of Magic in August, maybe into September, we'll see. I got a little bit burnt out on reading in July. It was my holiday month, so I've just like been reading so much. If you want to know about all the books I've been reading this month that I haven't put in the vlog, feel free to watch my July wrap up. But for the fantasy books I read, I love to tier rank at the end of my videos. I think this one will be pretty easy to do. There were no 5 stars in this vlog, unfortunately, other than that one nonfiction memoir I mentioned, Jeanette Winterson's. But of the fantasy books I read in this video, Valor is at the bottom, unfortunately. Something about that sophomore slump for these series. Same thing with The Well of Ascension. I just don't vibe with the second books for some reason. Valor is at the bottom, and then I'd probably say Human Rites. As much as I love the series, Human Rites wasn't the best installment in it. And then what else? The Bound Worlds would be next, and then I think Hero of Ages, and then the Shadow Cabinet, and then the Incandescent. Oh my god, I read a lot of books this month. Oh my god. Happy with that ranking, happy with all the reading I did do. I made some progress on series. That being said, I hope your reading also went great in July. Feel free to share anything you've been reading recently down in the comments below. This is kind of a fun video both to film and will probably be very interesting to edit as well. We'll have to see how that goes. So I hope you've enjoyed. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do as per usual. And I guess I'll see you in my next video whenever I make it. Bye!